as a nation and as a country, Indians always treated nature like mother. So even when you touch earth, you treat earth as wife of Lord Vishnu. And even before putting your leg onto the earth, we actually say, Goddess Earth, please bless us, and I'm sorry for keeping my feet on your chest. And similarly, rivers like Ganga, we call it Ganga Mata. And so we always worship nature in the form of divinity, but somehow due to our greed and due to growth, we lost touch with the nature and we started polluting and destroying right, left, and center. And that is the reason that now again our government has to launch program like Namami Gange to clean the Ganga, which was considered as the eternal source of life and water to the farming sector as well as for drinking purpose, and it had medicinal property which were unparalleled. So there are plenty of stuff which one can learn from the uh, way our ancestors have lived and what they taught us. If and I think the basic summary always used to be live and let live. And what we did is we learned to coexist with the nature. And actually, the current modern science also realizes that when you care for some tree and go to that tree regularly, they also have emotions like humans. They display it in different format by shaking their leaves to whatever. So even the modern science now believes what our ancestor used to always tell us, that trees are living being. And if you look at further deeper, if each household has a tulsi, or we worship people tree, or day 4 yesterday was what Purnima yesterday actually itself, and one what Vriksh was considered equivalent to 10 suns. So all of these cultural nuances were originated from the science that our ancestor knew that Tulsi produces 20 hours of oxygen and 4 hours of ozone, and ozone can convert carbon monoxide also into carbon dioxide and oxygen. So basically, whatever we discharge carbon dioxide, the plants and trees are converting them into oxygen, and they so the whole way of living was coexisting with with nature, respecting nature as another living being, and ensuring that we don't destroy it. So I think we have plenty to learn and follow. And if we just look at what our parents did and simply follow their good practices, we would be different as a nation, and probably we will, in true sense, will be able to enjoy the human life much more beautifully.
I totally agree. That was an amazing start of the session with some cultural knowledge, which is lost in today's era, as we got to know from you. So, as we know that, according to International Energy Agency, when it's the country is set to create new records in adding renewable energy capacities in 21 and 22. But because of COVID-19, recent surge has created short-term forecast uncertainty for this year. And as we can see, if we see the graph, the highest renewable energy capacity adding 12.5 gigawatts was in financial year 18, surpassing the previous record 11.5 gigawatts in financial year 17. So rate of capacity addition has dropped since then. So how do you see it, and what's going to be the increase in rate of renewable energy capacity in 21 and 22?
So if you look at, there are multiple reasons. COVID is one of the main aspects due to which installation got impacted, and the supply chain got disrupted, the labor supply got disrupted. That is why compared to 2019, in 2020 and 2021, you are seeing a steep decline. Like last year, we had only 3.5 odd gigawatt of installation, and but in the first quarter we have done 2.1. So hopefully, if you look at that trend, and with COVID related challenges reducing and supply chain getting normal, we see that growth will bounce back. But let's look at the fundamental change. I think more and more people are realizing that we cannot live without electricity. And as you would know that even today, almost 85% of total MUs are generated from coal and other sources of energy which are polluting in nature. So 35% plus pollution in our country or in many countries is happening primarily because of the power generation. And you live in Gurgaon, and I go to Delhi quite often. And what I've realized that my home in Delhi has air purifier almost in every room, hall, and everywhere, because you realize that when you are living in Delhi, that even breathing is a challenge. So I don't think anyone in India wants that breathing becomes taxable event for them, and the kind of crisis we saw for oxygen in COVID, we don't want that to be the day-to-day life of ours in the future. So I'm very optimistic. I think due to so much of innovation, advancement in technology, fortunately, now the renewable energy are the most competitive source of energy. So there is no financial motivation for any government across the world to invest into conventional power. All new investment is happening into the renewable space. And there was a challenge around intermittency of the renewable. So India has demonstrated very successfully that solar, wind, and storage can provide you round the clock power on demand. There are few challenges still left, but technology is improving so much that in next 10 years probably we will see huge replacement of brown power into green power, and green power would continue to grow for years to come. So I don't think there is any looking back.
All right. So talking about partnerships and investment in the solar sector, so it's always been an high lately. So the government of India and the government of United Kingdom have signed an agreement to work together in the same field. So what all partnerships, investment, and financing do we look at in order to boost the growth of this industry?
So fortunately, this sector has created a lot of success story. In fact, this is one of the sector. Even my first venture in this space, we were able to monetize and sell it successfully to Tatas and give very good returns to the shareholders. So when any sector starts giving return to the shareholder, and there are success story, the confidence increases significantly. So the beauty of this sector is this is the annuity business, and India is one of the economy which would continue to grow for not only decade but for next 30-40 years, and we have potential to become top two economies of the world. So if you look at from that angle, every investor wants a pie in this game. So there is a huge interest building in this sector because of good professional player entering this space. There is a good policy framework supporting this sector. There are challenges around manufacturing, safeguard, etc., which government is working with industry to resolve. So I see in longer run, both on the equity side and debt side, for good player, there is going to be no challenge. The areas where improvement will come from the introduction of new DFI Act, which Government of India has approved in the Parliament, which will bring the cost down significantly for not only renewable sector but infrastructure sector at large. The kind of scheme and incentive mechanism which DFIs are getting through that program. So I think long term, I'm extremely bullish on this sector. Funding is not a constraint. Like you mentioned, the partnership with UK is just American funds have not yet come, but Goldman has invested into one of the largest player. If India just partners with EU, there is a huge opportunity. Currently in Germany, you get 0.37 even negative yield on long-term investment. If they invest in India, probably in euro term, they can make 5-6% the yield. So I think in long term and honoring the contract which government, federal government or the state government signs.
All right. More than that of any, if we talk about economies, more than that of any other major economy, India's energy future depends on buildings and factories that are yet to be built, and vehicles and appliances that are yet to be bought. Apart from COVID-19, what are the major obstacles which are there according to you?
I think there is a lot of challenge if you look at in any society or any economy. I think India has clarity in terms of 5 trillion economy by 2025 and 10 trillion by 2030. So at least we know where we want to head to. And the path and journey to that milestone would determine whether we will be a successful nation, will become a top three economies or not. See, we are a country of 1.3 billion people. And if you look at even in the US, the large IT companies are mostly run by Indians. So there is no dearth of talent in India. I think what we need to do is get the enabling environment, and then India will be able to truly unleash its potential. So I'm not going to say that there, besides COVID, was such a big disruption, but still you see the stock market rocketing, or many businesses doing well, or GST going beyond 1.1 lakh. So all of that demonstrate that fundamentally we are a strong country, and like any growing economy, we have our set of challenges, and government is proactive. They are trying to address, and even each of us have individually have a responsibility that trying to blame external situation all the time. We have to see what we can do for our country, what we can do for our company, and what we can do for our society. And if we start following the basic Indian approach that our dharma as a citizen of India used to be, that along with Arth, Kam, Moksha, for to reach that stage, one had to do karma, and the karma has to be relentless and and in the right direction. And if we combine our past and current value system, and our government keeps on working towards improving ease of doing business and ease of living, I think sky is the limit, and India has long journey to go. So we will continue to make goof up, but we will keep catching up. And renewable energy is a great example. It creates a unicorn every year. IT company this year has created 13 unicorns, out of which 4 of them are going public. So India is no more countries of snake charmer. I think it's transforming into a country of Indian talents who are innovating consistently, and it's a journey where we all have to contribute our bit.
Right. So, what are the latest innovation in solar panel technology, and how are they enabling new solar projects?
I think what's driving this industry is that now there is a 700 gigawatt plus worldwide installation. When we had started, I remember we used to buy 1 megawatt solar panel for $1.5 million US. If you look at today's price of around 200K US, there has been significant change in improvement, change and innovation in the technology. Earlier world was stuck to multicrystalline. Now we are going towards a monocrystalline, tandem junction, TOPCon, perovskite. The efficiency of cell, which we used to see in 10% points, are now 30% in mass scales will be available. So as I said, that so much of investment is coming into this sector that and that is driving lots and lots of innovation. We are seeing not only innovation on the solar technology, where earlier when I did my first project, we were using 70 watt peak panels, and now we are using 700-watt peak panels. And the area requirement, which used to be 8-9 acre per megawatt, now we are using less than 2.5 acre per megawatt. My sense is land requirement in next 2 years will come down to an acre per megawatt, and that from a practitioner's perspective would mean that each and every component which goes would have gone through huge innovation, and that's how we will reach there.
Uh, so, as you can see, major countries of the world have shown a clear shift from the old economic growth model to the new economic growth model. And India has the largest potential for generating solar power because it's a tropical country with 300 clear sunny days. And few of the major initiatives that are coming up, like in Madhya Pradesh, largest floating solar plant, in Gujarat, world largest solar park, and if we talk about UP, Bundelkhand solar energy revolution. But somehow India is still dependent on some of the countries for modules and whatnot. So the rising question here is: do you think ramping up solar energy generation and equipment manufacturing can really make India's economy sustainable and Atmanirbhar?
I think I see that what will happen in India is like what happened in the cellular space, that villages which were not even connected through wireline directly went Wi-Fi. Similarly, India, which did not had any manufacturing ecosystem on electronics, I think solar will provide foundation block for future semiconductor industry. Will directly go to the latest technology. And my personal gut feel is that India would have 35,000 megawatt of solar manufacturing coming up in next 2 to 3 years. So we have a tremendous potential. It will probably create more than 10 lakhs job in next 3 years, and there is no alternative. I think it's a survival for the fittest again. That we can't live in the old model of polluting the nation and not adopting the greener technology. And when you are dependent on one nation, the monopolistic mindset setups. So I think India has come out with a very good PLI scheme. There are states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh who have very good incentive program to invest into the manufacturing. And once one or two player become successful, we will see all the global giants will be here, and the market size here will attract them. So I think we are on the right path, and in coming years probably you will see it get realized in terms of local manufacturing ecosystem getting established.
So, what's your take, Mr. Vineet? Will COVID-19 leave lasting scars?
I think it's already had a huge impact in first phase on just urban economy and now on the rural economy. And anyone who has lost any of the family member, it's very difficult to overcome, and they need not have. It should not have happened, and I think it will go wasted if you don't learn from that. I think the biggest learning from COVID is we have to learn to live with the nature. Like I live in Bombay and I live in Juhu, and earlier it was difficult to see something beyond 2 kilometers. And even in today's environment, I am able to see all the way up to town. And that means it was somewhere the God's message that nature can heal itself if human stops abusing it consistently. So we are at the cusp. We can take it as a learning opportunity, and say that we will not let this tragedy go away, and transform our healthcare system to the world's best, where healthcare tourism becomes one of the biggest opportunity for India. We will live sustainably and responsibly along with nature, and be instrumental in becoming the role model for rest of the world. Otherwise, it will be a wasted tragedy.
So, what's your opinion? How fast the use of renewable energy can scale, and to what extent we can mitigate the increase in fossil fuel use?
I don't think any sensible entrepreneur will anymore invest into the conventional energy. India has enough for next 2 decades to for the great stability. We have lot of thermal power plant which has not gone live. I'm not very fond of nuclear also. I think what India needs to invest more and more is on technology and creating ecosystem for manufacturing so we become the world leader, not only in terms of thoughts but the world leader in terms of real technology and becoming the manufacturing hub for solar and solar related technology and probably the same in wind we all already have some very strong presence. We need to increase it and create more enabling policies so that we truly become a world leader. And and as I mentioned in the beginning, Government of India has set up a 450 gigawatt target for renewable energy. I think some in some time to come, we will also go for net zero. And once you adopt a net zero target, everything has to be green. So we'll talk about green ammonia, we'll talk about green hydrogen, green steel, green aluminum, and all the biggest polluting source will convert into the green source. And today we have technology to do that.
So, all right, one of our attendees also asking the same question as you said that India is going to be the world leader in renewable energy. Is that true?
Not yet. Actually, we have added in the last decade 40 gigawatt, which China adds every year. So let's admit that we are no more in the top five player also because of COVID. And but yes, we have potential to be top two player, and we will reach there. What is needed is consistent policy and ensuring that all the contracts are honored so that investors' confidence in India remains high and we continue to attract capital. And at the back of capital, we can unleash the true potential of renewable sector in India.
True. So, before we conclude this session, do you have any suggestions or any thoughts?
I think my one message to all of you would be that we should all look at our lifestyle differently and find ways and means to coexist with the nature. If we can't do good for the nature, we can't do bad either. And the best time to plant tree was when we were probably kid. But if not then there's no better time than tomorrow. We all should in our lifetimes should plant trees and support someone who is not able to support themselves. And that should be the way to live so that what we got from our ancestor, the better environment we are able to provide to our next generation as well.
All right. Before I'll come to conclusion, there's one question from our attendees. He said, "I have 5 acres of land in Karnataka of my own. How can I start my business on solar energy generation? Will there be any government support? And what can Avada Energy help me to move further?"
We currently don't do a smaller project. We have a division which does rooftop. In 5 acre, you can easily do 2 megawatt. There are many corporates in Karnataka. Karnataka has a good open access policy, and under 5 megawatt comes under the RBI's priority sector lending also. So you will be able to get the competitive interest rates from SBI, ADB, and World Bank line. And you should target to pitch it to the corporates. IT companies are very green savvy. We ourselves have more than 300 megawatt project in Karnataka, providing to corporate customers there, and and that's the best utilization for that land. But if it's a cultivable land, please don't use it for solar. Solar should be only done in barren land, which can't be used for any other purpose.
All right. So that was a very enlightening session and one of the major topic and biggest growing industry in India. We have covered some insightful topics and new strategies for our upcoming ventures in the same field. Thank you so much, Mr. Vineet, for joining us. It was pleasure having you here. And for more session attendees, please move to the agenda. We have another session landed up in couple of minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vineet.
Great day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.